Mortgage Podcast, the show where we dive deep into the topics that directly impact the evolving originator. I'm your host, Connor Bartley. Bam! And joining me today is someone that I'm really excited for you to hear how he got into the business. Only 7 years in, putting up some really impressive numbers. Just found out that he has grown year over year, every year in the business. A twin dad and a Buffalo Bills fan. Aaron Benton, welcome to the Lowdown.
Thanks for having me, Connor.
Yeah, man, absolutely. Really excited to talk with you today. We've had a chance to talk in the past, and I got to know a little bit of your story. And I just want to start there because I think how you got into the business is a fantastic story. So I'll let you take it away, but if you don't mind sharing.
Yeah, well, I appreciate you having me on. So really got in the business, like you said, 7 years ago. I was originally a high school math teacher. That skill set, looking back, that skill set absolutely translates into loan origination. I was fast tracking. I was a teacher. I was working in food and beverage as a server, and eventually had my master's to become an assistant principal. I applied for some jobs, was told that I didn't have any experience. Kind of rubbed me the wrong way, right? Someone's got to take a shot on you. I could have been 26. I could have been 46 with no experience. So I was very fortunate. My wife's uncle was getting a mortgage through my now boss. And they were just having a conversation just like we are here, and came up with, do you know anybody who is just a good person? Not really looking, but worth having a conversation with. It's the most awkward interview I'd ever been a part of, because it wasn't really an interview in terms of I want to hire you. It was an interview in terms of, I don't know if you actually want to be in the industry. You are getting paid, and other loan officers can attest to this. You're in education, you're on salary, you can understand what you're going to make. You can project it out, right? They have contracts, and some states have unions, and so on and so forth. So you know what you're going to make 30 years down the road. Well, here we are in a loan officer business where it's 100% commission, and you wake up every day with a paycheck of zero. And so, needless to say, he was very apprehensive to hire me. And I view everything in terms of risk and reward. I said, give me a shot. So he gave me a shot. And the number one thing that he did to start, which I think that this is a good learning experience, he was paying me a salary just to learn the business. I think a lot of loan officers or, maybe real estate agents, you're most apt to make a mistake when you first start, because you don't know what you don't know. And I was able to kind of sit by his side and other individuals' sides just to really understand the business. Well, fast forward, that salary was supposed to last like a year, and it lasted a total of 3 months. Because you remember, in 2018, the mortgage industry was pretty much bankrupting itself. And so I put it all together, and I was on what was called an unforgivable draw. And so they would basically pay me. I had to raise enough commission to get $2,500 a month in income. If I didn't have sales of $2,500, they'd pay me it, but I accrue a nice bank of debt. And there we were 6 months later, man. 6 months later, my wife and I had a very nice dinner because I paid off that debt. I was a free man again.
Very nice. Well, I think it's, first of all, what a serendipitous sort of situation that happened, right? Like, things didn't work out with education. And a little disenfranchised by that. Uncle's getting a mortgage, and then, just a chance meeting. And I love the way that your boss sort of undersold the position and really was realistic with you. I think a lot of people need to hear that to know what it is exactly they're getting into, and not be sold on the dream, but really be given the reality of what you might be getting into. And then you put in the work. Right? You made the decision. You said, hey, I'm in this because I see the opportunity, and then took advantage of that and learned as fast as you could, I would imagine, and really got, to where you are today. Like, along the way and in this path, did you instantly know after you got started that this was going to be the career for you? Or was it after that steak dinner, that nice dinner that you and your wife had, where you were like, all right, hon, I think we should do this for the long haul?
I think I was very interested, because from almost the beginning, in a sense, just because what you earn your stripes, and it's relationship based. And if you do a bang up job, you're compensated for it, right? We're 100% commission. And so I really like that drive. I'm never a person who, I mean, don't get me wrong. There are days that come by, and I don't have necessarily a full workload when I wake up at when I walk into the office at 8:30 in the morning. But let me tell you, from 8:30 to 5:30, there is always something to do. And then the phone will ring at 6:30 that night. That is something in terms of being realistic. I quickly learned that in terms of answering the phone after hours or at odd hours, or just it's different. It was a complete 180 from education, if you will, where you kind of clock in, you clock out. But in my world, this has been a huge a perk, if you will, and it's been better for our family. I mean, I just got done telling you that I took a little family trip, and the beauty of going on a family trip is I can still work. So I took a couple hours, every day, and my wife is a saint for letting me do that. But I took a couple hours every day, and no one really needs to know that I'm on vacation, right? I still seem very present. So that's very it's just been good.
Yeah, well, and you made a comment there, and you mentioned this even before we started recording this episode, which was, you'll answer any call you get, and you might be surprised to know that not every loan officer does that. But I have found a trend that among the top producers, that is sort of their mentality. I'm always going to answer the phone. And so I think there's just a certain, I don't know, there's a different drive, a different work ethic in this top 20, top 10% of originators. I know you were on the Scotsman Guide, so congratulations for that. But, that really separates you. And I guess, when you're that committed and you're helping as many people as you've helped along the way, is there a story of a previous, borrower that you've helped, or a loan that really still sticks with you today that, was impactful in some way?
There's been a lot. I mean, I could tell you that we just closed a loan, I mean, today, and the gentleman wrote a Google review. He must have wrote it at the closing table. He was so happy because he was just in some back taxes and things of that nature, and it's one of those situations where sometimes you feel like the client is actually trying to sabotage their own loan, right? And you kind of weave through the woods, if you will, to find a way, and it involves some creativity, because when individuals, and it's not this person, but when individuals come in and they said, I've been told no by someone else, I really relish that challenge. I like that we have a lot of I have a wide array of products, is what I should say, and I know how to use them. So I think is it the wand, is it the wizard? It's both. And just being educated in that piece. The reason I partly love it is because of the creativity that I have to take to find a solution. And then isn't the pressure so much higher with the referral partners or the attorneys or the clients, the sellers, because they've already been told no. So everyone's kind of waiting for you to fall on your face and say no yet again. And then suddenly you get to the finish line and they're like, he actually pulled it off. Congratulations.
Yeah. Well, and that just gives you, more credibility for the next one, right? And they go, hey, if Aaron can't get it done, no one can get it done. This guy works wonders. So, yeah, that's a great story. And, you speak about the referral partner side of things. Is there anything that you do from a unique perspective to, generate those referrals or build relationships with those agents? I'm just kind of curious what your approach is to supporting your referral partner.
Probably the boringest guy that you're going to ask that question to.
Hey, that's all right.
And
Boring's
the
not
reason is
bad. Boring is the key, right? So everybody listen, we got to smash the mundane, in the words of Champbonosian.
so the reality is that how does my business function? I'm grassroots, right? I will get calls. We kind of touched on it a little bit before this call from recruiters, right? And one of the pitches that I've had in the past is, we want you to hire a team of junior LOs. We want you to go out and try to get like builder business or these big accounts. And those calls last about 35 seconds because every client I talk to talks to me. And I don't get me wrong, I have a support staff behind me. I have individuals who help with paperwork, who help with the processing and things of that nature. I'm not doing everything. But every client and the game plan is going through me. And I think that is what wins over referral partners is you answer the phone, the client will then reiterate back to the referral partner, hey, I had a conversation that went really well. I give the clients old school, right? I give them options. That I can take an application old school over the phone. I live in Hilton Head, South Carolina. Sometimes Bluffton, South Carolina, the demographic can be a little bit older, just because it's a retirement area, and they feel a little bit more comfortable with just having a conversation or coming into the office. Now, granted, people have the option to do an online application, so we have the choice. Clients like that. The referral partners love that. And then it's just the follow-up. Everyone has this. They have the built-in automation with the appraisal, and, your file's been sent to processing, you're out of underwriting. So we have all of that. But I think it's those little touches with the text messages and the phone calls, both to the buyer side and the listing side, just with some updates throughout the process. I call clients through the loan process sometimes just to check in. I mean, I have a gentleman right now, he's building, and he sent me an email, and I answered his question. I gave him a call back, and I said, it's been about 3 weeks. Your house isn't going to be built for another 90 days, but I figured we should just talk. We should just say hello and check in. And I think that goes very far. You never forget about them. You always know what's going on in the process, and the referral partners know that.
Yeah. And so from a tactical standpoint, is that something that you have like reminders built in to sort of trigger you, from whether it's in your database or on a calendar, to say, okay, I need to call these 5 people today? Or is this just something that comes naturally and, it's just a part of, hey, I want to deliver a great experience, so I'm going to make sure I do this?
It's all natural. I put on my calendar I have a Calendly calendar. I have the Outlook calendar. They're all linked. And so what happens is I will put on my calendar monumental events, in terms, if there are certain things like finance contingencies, appraisal due dates, if there are certain things that have to happen, those go on my calendar. But in terms of natural follow-up, those happen relatively quickly because they're all fluid, right? The appraisal comes back. That's a fluid notification, if you will. And so that's really it. I don't have any secret sauce. It's just, like we said, you answer the phone, you tell them what's going on. People just want to be acknowledged.
Yeah.
We talked about answering the calls, all calls. I send text messages. I'm on the phone with someone, and I get a call, and I say, hey, I'm sorry, I can't answer. I'm on the other side or on the other line, and I'll give you a call here shortly. Please leave a message. I get the thumbs up. They like the message. They just want to know that I'm not out at the beach, right? And I'm going to get back to them in a timely manner.
Yeah. Well, and I think, kind of to your point here, like, what you're telling them without telling them is that they're on your mind, and that you've got their best interests at heart, that you're thinking about their situation, and that they're not just, a name on a whiteboard that's going to be the next loan, that you're just going to try to check off the list, but that you really are working for them and care about the outcome of their situation. And that goes a long way with people, and in our high tech, world that we're in today, it's made a lot of us really lazy. And it's kind of, you get an email, maybe you send an email back, or you give it to an assistant to email them so you can do something else. And I think, there's time and a place for that. But when you're dealing with buying a house, right? Like, it is a huge deal for that person. You see it, multiple times a month, but this is the one time they're going to do it for years. Maybe the only time they'll ever do it. So, and something they never thought they ever could do. So it's a big deal. So I love that you give that sort of personal touch. And just a quick call out to the recruiters out there. I hope you were listening. Don't assume what people want, and tell them what you think they want, right? So anyway, I just have to call out my side of this for a second there. But I love what you're doing, man. So you've been doing this 7 years, lots of success along the way. It just keeps growing for you. What keeps you motivated in this business? Because it gets hard from time to time. I mean, the last few years have been hard, but you've been growing. So, like, what keeps you motivated and disciplined?
Well, you had mentioned I'm a twin dad. My wife stays home with our kids. Let's be honest, if I don't perform, our life is gonna change.
Right.
Would I say that they're my motivation? Well, of course, I love the life that we have. Kids are happy, they're healthy, but really the motivation is helping people. I mean, I told you I came from that education background, so I think that there was something that's innate to help with the understanding, to help people achieve that dream. I mean, I laugh because when I was teaching, I could have been crafting the best lesson plan presentation, but if they weren't really interested, they weren't paying attention, right? And so it could have but with the financing or the mortgage, I'm giving that same kind of presentation, but they're really locked in because I'm talking about their pocketbook.
Yeah.
And that's rewarding, that they're really hanging on to every word. I mean, I have a deal right now. After we have this podcast, I'm really going to dive in. She's having some difficulty with a different lender, and it really came down to honesty, trustworthiness, things of that nature, and just calling a spade from day one. And I've only spoken with her so far about 2 hours, but she needs some TLC, and I'm excited to help her because that's it's innate, right? I want to guide her through. One of the things I really pride myself on, and I drive it home to my team, is when we give a loan estimate, it is going to match very, very close to that closing disclosure. Our area here in the Hilton Head Bluffton area, we have neighborhood transfer fees, we have HOAs, there are condominiums inside of gated communities, so there's a condo fee. Then there's a neighborhood gated HOA fee on top of that, maybe some flood insurance. So there's a lot of pieces where clients could get a loan estimate that's just vastly incorrect. Not because the other lender is being deceitful or shady, they just don't know, right? There's a reason those aren't tolerance cures for an HOA transfer fee or taxes or insurance, if you will. But we're very in tune with our local market, and what a breath of fresh air for the referral partners and the clients to know that, okay, here we are 35, 45 days before our closing, and we pretty much know what our bottom line is going to be. I mean, what a relief to be able to take that off your radar and plan accordingly.
Yeah, absolutely, man. So do you use any tools like Mortgage Coach or MBS Highway, or what are you making the presentations with? I'm just curious.
You're so good. All of it. I am big into Mortgage Coach. Mortgage Coach is very helpful because I love to be I'm a numbers guy. I was a high school math teacher, so I like the comparison, right? You can talk about, sometimes we'll talk about buy downs, sometimes we'll talk just about paying points. Temporary buy downs I was referring to. Temporary buy downs, paying points. We'll talk about, I love this one, right? The conventional loan versus the FHA loan. Your credit score is kind of hit or miss, it's in between. Well, the numbers don't lie. You can craft up the mortgage insurance and the rate and just analyze it that way. I use just like we're talking on video, I put a video in every single one of those mortgage coaches. I walk them through the presentation. I always feel like it's, you said it in the beginning, buying a house is it's a huge purchase, arguably the biggest transaction per purchase someone will do. I can't tell you how many times people go into that mortgage coach at like 9:30, 11:30 at night. And it's just because they're thinking, it's on their mind. They worked all day, something pops up, shoot, Aaron's not available, it's 11:30 at night, I'm not going to call him, but I want some kind of answer now. Well, there's the mortgage coach.
Right.
And so I love the mortgage. And yes, I use MBS Highway from a rate perspective standpoint. I love that because maybe you do, but I definitely don't have the crystal ball for rates. And I laugh.
Definitely do not.
When, on social media, people talk about rates, and sometimes I'll talk about clients, and I talk to clients, and they have a firm, they present themselves as they have a firm grip of the marketplace. And I'm almost like, oh, I want you to come over and do my job, because as much as I have a pretty good understanding and I read the news and I'm in MBS Highway, I'm looking at all the data points and the news release, there's still variability, right? I locked 2 loans yesterday right before the Fed announcement. I look like a genius.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, to your point, like Powell talks a little bit and then suddenly everything that should have happened didn't happen and it went the other way and everyone's going, oh my gosh, what is going on? So there's definitely a lot of volatility involved in all of that. And the point you made about, the buyer being up late at night, kind of wondering. And I mean, I think of myself 17 years ago, my wife and I, my wife's 8 months pregnant. We're buying this house. And I don't know if Mortgage Coach was around 17 years ago, but the person that we were dealing with definitely did not use it or have it. So it was on our mind all the time. And we were talking about it around the house, around the apartment and just those like 45, 60 days, however long it was that we were kind of under contract and going through all of that, it was something we thought of all the time. And just having those little bit of that information would have been something that we would have obsessed over, like, and geeked out over completely. So I love that those tools are out there, and I love that you use them. And that's, something that's common among people that are kind of doing the volume you're doing, to utilize the tools that are out there to help educate their clients even more and give them more certainty in the transaction. Listen, as we sort of kind of come to the end of this, what are you working on now for the future? Like, when you think of your career 3, 5, I mean, even 10 years from now, you're a young guy. Like, what are some of the things that you want to improve on, or skills that you're really working on so that you can, stay ahead of the curve?
I think in our people have asked me, like, how would you grow, just exactly like you did, and it has to do with marketing. I really do think that we provide a grade A service to our clients, and the only ones that really know that are the ones that get to experience it, right? If they don't know about you, then we can't be into contact because they don't know. So before the call, we talked about it. I'm grassroots, and you go so far with grassroots, right? You can't have 3 coffees a day with 3 real estate agents, if you will, and expect that everyone's going to get the time that they deserve, if you will. If I were to expand, like, I would want someone to help with the marketing piece, just to be top of mind, if you will, follow up, things of that nature. I'm one person. I do so much, but I can only do so much. I have an amazing team behind me, but it's only a team of 2 right now. And so the team is crafted. I absolutely have my glue person, right? She helps me on the front end. She helps with the transfer off, if you will, to the processing or the back end. And I have my back end specialists. I mean, they're great. So the team, but understand this, it took me 7 years to get here.
Yeah.
That team that I just referenced, that didn't happen overnight. The mortgage industry, I laugh because you pretty much have to earn your stripes, right? I remember when I first started, I didn't have any support. So it's really hard to grow when you're doing every single task from A to Z. So you put it all together. I want to grow from a marketing perspective.
Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but I'm curious. At what point did you start getting support?
Let me think. I would say probably tail end of 19. So that I would have been doing the work for about a year.
Okay.
I probably had a pipeline in 19. I think I closed about $21 million in that vicinity.
Yeah.
And so that was probably the threshold. I started showing that I was at 20 million. I was only doing it for 2 years. And that was okay, this guy's real, if you will.
Yeah, absolutely. I was just curious. I wanted to unpack that because I think there's a misconception out there that, you should get that support at 3 loans a month, 4 loans a month. And, I think what reality is a lot of times you find people if they want that support, what they need to do first is invest in it themselves and then prove that it provides the growth. And then the company comes to, take over from that. But I was just curious kind of what that point in the timeline was for you, because, yeah, I mean, it does take time to build out the systems and all of that. And, it's not handed to you ever. And it can be difficult to delegate too, when you build it all from zero and suddenly realize you need help. So anyway.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's scalable because even now, I say I'm a team of 3. Mortgage business, it ebbs and flows, right? So there are some weeks where I say, wow, I really need that 4th person. And there are other weeks where, boy, I probably don't even need 3 of us.
Right. Yeah.
And so to add on that complete extra resource, I think there would be a transitionary period for me. Maybe it would be like a virtual assistant or something like that as a tweener, just because like I said, it's such an ebbs and flows, and it's fine. What I've learned through the time is it's finding the right people, because the minute you get yourself in a situation where you don't have the perfect fit, you're spending so much time backtracking and kind of rechecking and so on and so forth that you might as well just do it yourself.
Yeah, I got you, man. Well, I appreciate the insights into everything. I'm excited for what's next for you, man. Like, you're clearly mastering a lot in this business and building a great local reputation. If you can get a megaphone out there, more people will know about it, and then things I'm sure will really take off. So it's going to be a bright future for you. So, Aaron, I appreciate you joining the Lowdown. Is there any advice that you would share with this audience before we say goodbye?
I think that my story is a story of optimism. I started off and it was, yes, there was a salary, but that was quickly taken away. So that could have been the moment where I said, all right, well, I'm going to quit. Right. And then I had the bank of debt. Well, I got through that. And fortunately from there, I haven't really turned back. I'm sure for others, there have been difficulties that would make them turn back, if you will. But I think that in this industry, if you feel like you're slow, I think you have to really take your look in the mirror and get out there. I think that it's really I think that you control your own destiny. I really do.
Yeah. Those are great words of wisdom right there. So, Aaron, thanks for joining. Best of luck to you in the future, and hope nothing but the best.
Appreciate it, Connor. Thank you.